The Illinois State Redbirds, led by Brock Spack, 3-8 last season. He's the former Purdue defensive coordinator. 5 returning on offense, but he gets 9 on his defense. Drew Keel versus Matt Brown for the starting spot at quarterback. Good thing is they got a nice target in Iat Salem, who was a first-team All-Conference selection.
And you look at Geno Blow, the running back, 700 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns, 5.1 yards a carry. So they have a running back. They have a good receiver in Salem. That's a real good player. He's a tremendous athlete. Loves to run across the middle. Loves those drag routes and those in routes. So he's a really tough, fearless player. I like him as well. They have a decent line. My question is, how are they going to translate to the spread offense? That's the big question. They're going to run the spread now. Can that offensive line translate to a different scheme?
Well, from offensive line to defensive line, Donnie Phelps and Brandon Wilson are the 2 headliners on the D-line.
Yeah, they gave up 30 points a game last season. They're running a 4-3 now, so that's going to be a little bit more consistency. The 9 starters, they give up also 5 yards a carry. They have to improve that across the board, otherwise they're going to struggle again on defense. They have an experienced linebacking core. Paul Wright is the leader of that group. He had 62 tackles last season, so he looks to improve. He's a strong leader in that defensive huddle, but they have to improve that all the way. The secondary will struggle, but they do have a key pair back there at strong safety. At Kelvin Hephill is a good one. I like him a lot.
The Western Illinois Leathernecks, led by Don Patterson in his 11th season. They were 6-5 last year. 7 on offense back, 6 on defense. Matt Barr, quarterback, running back Dre Gibbs, and they return 3 offensive linemen.
Well, the offensive line will be okay. They got those 3 starters returning. But you look at the quarterback, Matt Barr, 50% completion percentage. That has to improve. That has to jump up tremendously in order for these guys to be successful. Usually Western Illinois is a real tough team to play because they're feisty, they're scrappy. But this year they have to improve a lot because they lose the big running back, Herb Donaldson, last season. So that's some big shoes to fill for the Leathernecks.
On defense, their linebacker, Jason Williams, was taken in the 3rd round last year by the Dallas Cowboys. But Kyle Glazier was actually their leading tackler. He made some plays last year. He was a first-team All-Conference selection cornerback. Patrick Stoudemeyer, look out for him also.
Defensive line has to come together for these guys to have success on defense. I mean, last year they gave up 3.6 yards a carry, which is pretty good. You know, they were able to stop the run, 21 points a game. But this year they lost a lot of defensive talent. So that's going to hurt them a little bit. So it all depends on if the defensive line can gel pretty quickly and generate some success early in the season for the Leathernecks.
Well, formerly known as Southwest Missouri State, it's the Missouri State Bears. Terry Allen, 4-7 in his 4th season, 9 returning starters, 5 offense, 4 defense. Cody Kirby is back, first-team All-Selection at tight end. Clay Harbor could be his best friend, and second-team offensive guard David Arkin.
They have a really good offensive line at Arkin. I like Arkin a lot. He's a really good player. Eric Dahl is another one. My question is, who's going to play running back? They have to find a running game. That's going to help out. But if they want to move the football, that offense has to go through Clay Harbor. It's a really good tight end. Athlete. Reminds me a lot of Asante Shenko that plays for the Minnesota Vikings in the NFL. He's a tremendous athlete. He creates a lot of mismatches for opposing defenses. So he's going to be the key playmaker for Missouri State.
Defense was the problem last year. They gave up over 6 yards per carry, which is a problem. You're not going to win like that. Nose tackle Waylon Richardet needs to step up, in defensive end Terry and Washington need to solve this problem.
Well, you look at the 2 linebackers, Byron Hightower and Sam Block, are 2 really good linebackers as a duo. They make a lot of tackles. They're all over the field. 30 points a game is not going to win you a lot. 300 yards rushing a game, atrocious. That has to improve dramatically for these guys to even think about competing in this conference. It's a tough conference to compete in if you can't stop the run.
The Indiana State Sycamores, led by Trent Miles, atrocious last year, 0-12. This is Miles' 2nd year, 8 returning on offense, 8 on defense. Ryan Roberts, a quarterback, and Darius Gates, their running back. They need to get something going on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, they have to put a lot on Gates' shoulder because in order for them to compete, they're going to have to eat up the clock, which means they're going to have to run the ball. Good thing about it, they do have a veteran offensive line returning. But they bring in the biggest offseason acquisition. They bring in Troy Walters, former NFL wide receiver, to be the offensive coordinator. So that's going to help them out a lot. Get some consistency out there in Terry Holt with that team. The Sycamores are begging for a winner. All they have to do is just compete day in, day out, show the same fight they show in some games, and they're going to be fine. But they're going to have to lean on Gates with their running game. They averaged 8 points a game last season. A lot of their games were blowouts. That has to change. They have to change the culture there at Indiana State.
Defensive tackle Rod Hardy and safety Alex Sewell need to turn around that defense.
They have no pass rush. Zero. They can't get to the quarterback. They gave up 42 points a game last season, 5.9 yards per rush. Impossible to win any type of game. I don't care what type of sport you're playing. You give up 42 points a game, that's embarrassing. They have to tighten that up on D. But I do like weak safety Alex Sewell, 90 tackles, 4 PBUs. So he's a really good player, but that swinging gate run defense has to improve. Everybody ran on those guys last season.
And now for our MVC preseason predictions, Offensive Player of the Year. I want to hear it.
I'm going with Brandon Summers, quarterback, Youngstown State. I think this is the year he's going to take those guys to the next level and get them back into the playoffs and get them back competing for a national title, let alone a Missouri Valley Conference title.
Give me Pat Grace. He's going to follow in the footsteps of a guy named Kurt Warner. Come on now.
If he can be as half as good as Kurt Warner, that's a good fit. I do like him, though,
and my defensive pick, I'm going to go with the Saluki linebacker, Brandon Jordan.
I'm going to go with Northern Iowa's defensive end, James Ruffin. Again, I've never seen anything like that coming out this conference. This guy's a really good defensive player. I like him. I like he's going to win it again this season.
And now for our preseason pick to win it.
I'm going with Northern Iowa. I think Northern Iowa has the defense to make it happen. I would have picked Southern Illinois, but I'm not. I think Southern Illinois has some questions, some spotty, players on defense that they have to get us going. They have some questions on offense that may be a little suspect. But I think Northern Iowa is a more complete team. I'm going to go with the Panthers.
Farley's got the experience. As I mentioned before, 5 top 5 finishes in the nation. Pat Grace on offense, Ruffin on defense. It's an all-around great team for the Panthers of Northern Iowa. It's unanimous, our decision. Northern Iowa is the pick in the MVC. For more FCS previews, visit footballgameplan.com/smallcolleges.